Bort? Oh, come on, Bort?
Mommy, buy me a license plate!
No, come along, Bort.
Hello, and welcome to the Bort Experience. I'm your host, Cody Galat. And before we jump into today's episode, I just want to say a shout out to my new channel I just recently started. It's called CGI Spy. It's a reaction channel. The reason for the separation is sometimes with reaction channels you get copyright issues, so that's why I wanted it separate from this channel. But I'm already up to 21 subscribers. We're reacting to not only movies and television shows, but trailers and different kind of content like that. So if you would, please look in the description. Also on screen, I'll have the name of the channel up. So if you can go support me there, that would be greatly appreciated. And also, apologies for missing last week with the holidays, and I was also not like just feeling well for a couple days, but I am feeling a lot better today and ready to jump into the episode. So today we are on season 2, episode 12, 25 overall, The Way We Was, written by Al Jean and Mike Reese and Sam Simon, directed by David Silverman. The chalkboard gag, I will not get very far with this attitude, and the couch gag falls to the floor. The thing I find really funny about I will not get this far with this kind of attitude is just this idea that, hey, if you're like Bart Simpson, you won't get far, and like, you know, The Simpsons just like celebrated 800 episodes. So I think it's just very ironic. I also think it kind of goes into like the kids that maybe like to draw or are not typical kind of students, and then finding a niche that they can be really successful with. So I just think that's very kind of ironic in terms of a chalkboard gag. So the episode summary, in the first Simpsons flashback episode, Marge tells the story of how she and Homer met in high school in 1974. Marge and Homer meet for the first time during detention, and he immediately tries to get Marge to be his date for the prom. She initially agrees, but ends up attending with Artie Ziff. In the end, Marge regrets going with Artie and reveals that she has fallen in love with Homer. So my thoughts was, so I feel like flashbacks are always kind of pretty interesting in a lot of television shows. You know, sometimes an anime can be a little too much because it's like or recaps or flashback recaps where you're just like, okay, I'm over this. But for The Simpsons, this being the first time, it's kind of great to kind of understand a little bit more character development and growth with Marge and Homer. I love seeing Homer with hair. Also, the kind of the 70s, growing up in this or graduating in the 70s, the aesthetic. Also really enjoyed in this episode, we get the first, we see Bane for the first time at the beginning of the episode. They're watching a Bane movie, who of course is a very like kind of Arnold Schwarzenegger, like that type mold, I feel like, of a character. We also get Artie Ziff, who is he? He is played by John Lovitz. And he had like some of the Simpsons writers, they ended up doing a spin-off show called The Critic, which unfortunately got canceled after I think 2 seasons, but it's just kind of interesting, and he was the main kind of star of that show. He's like on Rat Race, and he's on a few other things, but the Rat Race is a movie that I kind of really you know, picture him, and he has a very distinct voice. I feel like when you hear it, you kind of know it's him. You know, and Artie's a complete dirtbag, and I know he comes back into the show later, but it's kind of crazy, like, you know, almost like an assault type thing. If you know, I don't know if the writers would call it that, but that's pretty much what it is. It's very interesting in today's time of watching this episode and then looking back, you know, when it came out in the 90s versus, you know, with a 2026 lens of, you know, what that represented. And then he's like, hey, don't tell anyone, it'll ruin my reputation. And then, you know, you have, you know, people coming forward with allegations against other people in today's world. So it's just interesting, and not in a good way or anything, but just like, it's just kind of crazy that they put this in a show. I think now they probably wouldn't have this kind of subject matter, but I think it's good that, you know, Marge stood up for herself. You know, I think that guy should have paid a more heavy price, but I think later he does. I can't remember exactly, but I just know he pops back up, you know, kind of more in the modern timeline in terms of not a flashback, but just within the Simpsons' lives. I also just, you know, really enjoyed like the innocence of Homer. He and deep down, he's a good guy. I mean, he does all these things that are kind of dumb or sometimes inconsiderate, but I think deep down he does try to be a good guy, and like he cares about Marge and loves her very dearly. So I'm glad that that was showcased in this episode. I also liked kind of seeing Marge in a different kind of hairstyle. We always get that, like, classic wife of Frankenstein type, beehive hair that she has. So having her hair down was very interesting. And then also just kind of Marge becoming kind of like a feminist at the time. And then I'm sure that kind of has influences on Lisa, who kind of like channels that kind of energy later in the show. But overall, a really great episode. I really enjoyed it. Probably not my favorite of the season so far, but still really enjoyable. And I quite enjoyed it. So let's see. We have our next segment, the citizens of Springfield. So we have Dan Castanella as Homer Simpson, Grandpa Simpson, and Barney Gumble. I like Grandpa in this episode quite a bit as well. He's talking to Homer about the girl, about Marge that he likes, and he's like, "Hey, never try to. You want average or below average, And he's like, I should have had this talk with you a long time ago. And I just kind of thought that's funny. He's like, don't shoot for someone that you are really attracted to or you're really interested in. Shoot for below that. And I just thought that was interesting. We have Julie Carvener as Marge Simpson. She also played Patty and Selma, and then her mom. We have Nancy Cartwright as Bart Simpson, Yardley Smith as Lisa Simpson. John Lovitz, like I had mentioned earlier, he plays Artie Ziff, and Mr. Sekosky. We have Tress McNeil, she played Kim, and Mrs. Blumenstein, and we have Maggie Roswell as Estelle. For the MVP of the episode, I definitely have to give it to Homer and Marge. It just kind of built further on their relationships and then how they met, and Marge giving Homer a second chance, and that kind of comes back through the show where Marge gives Homer a lot of chances, and maybe sometimes he doesn't deserve that many chances, but it just kind of is like a very strong through line. And I don't know if you call it a trope, but it's just something that is known for the show. Like, oh, Homer does something that causes issues with the family, and it just she forgives him, and they kind of move past it, and hopefully in a positive way. Also, just kind of jump back a little bit on my thoughts. I really thought it was funny, the foreshadowing of Homer losing his hair with the comb, and then also giving the pamphlet of the nuclear power plant that they're about to build, and he kind of throws it in the trash, and of course he ends up working there. I thought that was some good foreshadowing. Okay, so now our next segment, the best joke of the episode. And for me, it happens at the very beginning. It's kind of like, I'll set the scene, but it's pretty much when the TV messes up. So, Homer, time for Dr. TV to perform a little surgery. He bangs on the TV. Boom, boom, boom. The picture gets worse. Bart, looks like you lost the patient, Doc. Cheap Chinese TV, said Homer. What did I ever buy it for? Homer, fiddling with the back of the set. Is this better? Lisa and Bart, no! They're screaming because the picture's getting worse and worse on the TV. Ah! Lisa and Bart. Homer, okay, everybody remain calm. Gives the TV a big whack and the picture disappears. Lisa and Bart scream, ah! And then Homer, this is my favorite part. Dear God, just give me one channel. Marge suggests they talk. His delivery of like, dear God, just when Homer like freaks out, Dan Castanella, the voice actor, just does such a great job, and it's just you almost don't even care really what he's saying. It's just so hilarious, the line delivery. So I give that as the best joke of the episode. Okay, and we've come to our final segment, trivia, which is usually my favorite segment. So let's see. Sorry, I think I've read this one before, so give me just a moment here. Okay, here we go. Homer's half-brother Herb was the CEO of what company? Again, Homer's half-brother Herb was a CEO of what company? To get the answer, please like and subscribe and catch out new episodes on Mondays. But since you're here, you get the answer. It is Powell, Powell, WELL Motors, Pal Motors. That's a really funny episode. Danny DeVito voices the brother, and hopefully I haven't done that question. Like I pull these questions, and there's like 4 or 5 on a card, and I kind of just go through, and I have a whole box back there. But sometimes I'm like, did I read that question? I don't know. I've done several episodes so far. So, but thank you so much for joining me. Again, check out my reaction channel. The link in the description below. But until next time, I hope everyone has a good 2026, and peace out.